Hello and welcome to another episode of the Scrutineer here for SimNews.TV. I'm Mike and I'm the Scrutineer, and I will be taking you through absolutely everything you need to know ahead of GPVWC's Super League campaign in Hungary, which starts tomorrow. So let's crack on. So this is upgrades, this is tyre choices, this is engine choices, engine upgrades, loads of stuff goes on in this series. It's fantastic to watch, but you really need to know what on earth is going on under the hood of some of these cars and some of these teams, because it's a real team effort and you really need to know what's going on. Otherwise, you won't get everything you can out of the race tomorrow. You'll still enjoy the racing, but this really will show you what's going on and how real it gets here at GPVWC with the Super League. So, we'll crack on. We're going into round 9 for Hungary. If you've watched any of the series below, you can catch them up, subscribe, follow on. Make sure you don't miss another one of these, because you'll miss out on all the action going ahead in the races. We do also do a Super League show to recap all the action as well. Make sure you subscribe below. In the meantime, let's go on to car upgrades. So, if you remember rightly, if you watch the rest of the series, we have all the upgrades you can put on the car, which makes the car faster in many ways, or it may make it easier to drive, it may make it lighter, it may make it have more downforce, whatever it may be on certain areas of the car. Each team goes slightly differently, and it makes for every car being ever so slightly different engines, different cars, different tyres, like Rio F1. So we're going to go down championship order to let you know what's gone on and what you're going to see on the cars tomorrow. So let's go through championship order. We've got Volvo at the top, and they have brought upgrades this time. They didn't bring any out last time, so they brought front wing downforce, which they've been doing all year so far, and diffuser downforce as well. They brought 40 points in total, takes them to 168. That's the most of any team going into this race tomorrow. We've also then got Nordson, who sits second in the standings. They brought their upgrades to the last event at Silverstone, which means they haven't been able to bring anything here, so they still sit with 149 overall. Mad Cape, they're doing very well and sitting themselves in third, but they have brought themselves some front wing downforce here. So if you remember rightly, Mad Cape were always the ones that were slightly behind and lagging behind the development, because they didn't really start it off very well in the first couple of rounds. They still are behind, but now the fact they're developing, and they seem to be developing the key areas that we'll get onto as well. So they developed 15 points worth of front wing downforce, which gives them a total of 96. So they still haven't quite hit the 100 mark, but it's where you use those points that count. Walters, they're sitting there in fourth, which is very good for them, and they put body drag on the car, so it's the first time they've done that, and they've got 24 points worth of that, gives them 154, which actually makes them the third highest altogether. Hawkeye, they didn't bring any updates to this event, they brought it last time, so they still sit on 147 points. Kerno, also no updates for this one, they sit on 150. Red Archer, they brought upgrades last time, so again, no upgrades this time. They sit on 132. Adonis, doing the same as Hawkeye, no upgrades as well. Sticking with the Talos mentality there together, so that's 150 as well. SRS, Street Fighter, they did bring something this time, so they brought diffuser downforce. Not so big, but still 16 points worth, so it gives them 156, which actually makes them the second most developed car on the grid. But you think they are the third lowest in the standings at the moment, so maybe we could see a good race from them. Storm, they didn't bring any upgrades to this event, but they did miss the last event, so really we haven't seen the upgrades they put last time on the car, so we'll count them as having some upgrades for this one. But that gives them 115 altogether. Green Stripes, bottom of the pack, but keep on developing, which is great. We haven't seen that every year, but this year all the teams are still developing the car. So the rear wing downforce is what they've put on that car, of 23 points, which is a pretty good development, and gives them 136 altogether. So if we recap in there, we've seen that Vobble's got the most developed car points-wise, so total points overall, followed by Street Fighter, and then Walters. Now we were talking about that's total points, and it's where you use them, what you spend them on. You could have 200 points, but if you just used them on the dirty air, for example, which is a very minor addition to the speed and the overall speed of the car and grip levels and that sort of stuff, then you won't really see much there. But if they spent it all on what we think has turned out to be front wing downforce, which seems to be probably the most useful of all the teams seem to be now developing that, because they all seem to have realised that that seems to be the best one to go for. So but interestingly, it doesn't necessarily work with the results. So if we look at actually who's got the most going into this Grand Prix of that particular area, you're still talking Vodball. They're sitting there quite heavily with a good 80 odd. Street Fighter there on 60s, and then you go down to Green Stripes, Storm, Hawko Nordson and Adonis, all very close together around the 40 to late 30 mark. So it's very close on that, and actually that shows that those teams have got half as much of, say, the VOD Bulls. So maybe that's where the difference is coming from, but then Street Fighter should be doing better than they are, so we'll see. Maybe tomorrow, maybe that will really play out and those two could run away with it. But different tracks for different things as well. It might not be down to that at all. We've still got everybody within 2 upgrades sort of together, so you think like Vodball put 2 upgrades on this time, and that's 40 points worth. If you look at the overall points wise, like all teams except for like Mad Cape and Storm are within that together, so it means next round when Vodball can't get the upgrades on, all those other teams could catch them up. So it's still really close throughout the season. We haven't always seen that at this stage. We're going into the summer break after this event, so you think halfway through the season we've seen sometimes some teams lagging off and some people not developing anymore. This year's not that case. We've got lots of teams all developing, all carrying on, all wanting to improve that car. There's in fact 6 teams, if you ignore Vodball at the top at the moment for this event, 6 teams behind them, all within 9 points of a total. So of their total points, 9 points together, that's absolutely nothing in the grand scheme of things. It's half a development, if that, which is depending on certain areas. So that's why all these cars are so evenly close together, and why we're not necessarily seeing people like Mad Cape, who we expect would be miles off the pace. But actually they're not that far behind, even though they didn't develop that much to start with. It's where they've developed those points. We are seeing some teams lagging behind in the pit lane. Vodball have now got themselves to 99% tyre change. Some teams are catching up as well, and I see quite a few others, Norge and a few others, will catch them next round by the looks of things. In fact, because we've got the summer break, quite a lot of teams will probably get that to 100%. But at the moment, you're still seeing half a second difference in the pits. To some teams, it's 1 or 2 seconds. So that can make a huge difference. But it's a minor change compared to what you'll see on track with all of those upgrades there. Not only that though, so we go from car upgrades, you've also got the engine upgrades. So you remember last time out we had Talos, they put an engine upgrade on their car and that took them to 89 points worth. We are seeing that engine upgrades are now slowing down. So whereas the car upgrades, and you can carry your research and development points that you earn throughout the year. If you don't know about that, go back and watch episode 1, we explained it all there. But the research and development points that you don't carry over in the engine game. So you start off a blank, everybody starts off together pre-season. So effectively, if everyone keeps developing, because you can only develop one area at the same time, and then no one seems to have missed it at any point. Trinity potentially started a little later, but grand scheme of things it was a few days. It means that actually everybody should start running out soon. So I'm expecting pretty much all of the engine manufacturers to bring an upgrade for Germany, which is the first race after the summer break, and that'll probably be it for quite a while. I think that's everybody then run out of engine upgrade points. They can still earn them because they do the free practices before every race, but in doing so it's still going to take 4 or 5 races before we see another meaningful development put on the car. So really, once we get past the summer break, that's pretty much the engines you're going to see for the rest of the season. So to give you an idea, they're all still mighty close though. So Talos put that upgrade on. Valiant have put upgrades this time on, and they've got themselves up to the 89. So they only managed to get 10% out though. You see what I mean? It's slowing down. So they've only managed to match what Talos were on. So the same engine, well, the same total engine points, different areas. So one's more powerful, one's got more boost, one's better on fuel, all that sort of element. Martech's on 82 now, and Trinity had no change at 77. Now, of course, we've seen Woods drop out of the series. I'm assuming that Green Stripes Racing, their only supplier, will take up the mantle of running the Trinity engine for themselves, effectively, for the rest of the season, because it's already, rather than like the car upgrades where you're paying out all the time throughout the season, if you stop, you save yourself some money. With engine upgrades, it's a bulk paid up at the start of the year of 30 million, which effectively Woods paid, and it's whatever they develop throughout the year. So if you develop next to nothing, you've used all your money, you've wasted your money anyway, so you might as well develop. So in this case, Green Stripes effectively developing an engine for nothing. But as I've said before, they won't develop very much. They'll probably get another upgrade in, maybe 2 before the end of the year. So it's not such a big loss as it would have been a few races ago. But it'd be good to see if Green Stripes can do that. They are the bottom team, but effectively find themselves as an engine manufacturer. At least that's what happened last time out with Walters taking over the Potentia engine, which we saw last year when Midnight pulled out. Interestingly though, they didn't actually get the deal for this season, the following season. So it doesn't necessarily mean that Green Stripes will get the Trinity engine in 2018, but they might. It can't hurt you if you're doing it well. Let's say it that way. So moving on to engine choices then. So that was engine upgrades, we go on to engine choices. So you've got those engines, we know what the total engines would be. That's if they've got a 100% unit. Most teams don't have 100% units because you only get 6 throughout the whole season. So basically you have to do 3 races per engine if you complete every race, of course. If you don't finish a race or you've crashed out on lap 1, you effectively save an awful lot of engine life. But we have been seeing that we saw, do you remember last time, a couple of races ago, we saw Hawkeye forget to pick their engines and ended up having to take the engines from the previous race, which was an 8% engine for Paul Cooper and a 14 for Paul Olsen, both of which DNF'd. So we've got a couple of drivers this time out who were probably flirting around that sort of area as potentially DNFing, maybe in some big names, so it's going to be interesting to see. So let's go championship order again, we'll go down. So we go with Bob Bull. Rudy Van Buren, your championship leader, your multiple race winner this year, has a 22% engine. Yes, 22. Now that is the lowest he's ever run. He ran a 30, I think a 31 about 2 or 3 rounds ago. But that's pretty low, and actually is the lowest of anybody this time out. That's going to be interesting to see. 1, if he gets to the finish, but 2, he's going to be very underpowered. Yes, this track is not a powered track at Hungary, but it's still going to harm him a little bit. Whereas his teammate over in the other side of the pit wall, Risto Capit, has a 62% engine. So that's only done 1 race, effectively, that. So it's going to be quite a lot more powerful. And we'll see if that makes a difference to him. And he hasn't got a problem with failing the engine particularly there. Nordsen, Feidek was apparently in the same debate as Van Buren in that he would have had around about a 20-something engine. He's chosen not to use that engine, and they've chosen to use the new, fresh 100% engine. Now, interestingly, Nordsen, both cars have had 1 DNF each, so actually they've got a slight advantage to a degree on engine life now. But of course they have missed out on points in a round, so see how it goes. Gaia has a 43% engine, that'll be perfectly fine. Is a little bit lacking on power, particularly compared to his teammate, but it'd be easily safe and very good engine for that. Madcape, I'm assuming Roland will sit back in that car again. If so, he's got a 42% engine, and Morris has a 62% engine, so again that's very similar, that's the same as Capit. Walters out next, Baldy, he's got a 41% engine, so very similar to Roland and Gaia. And maybe Jarl Tyne, is he going to give it another go? I hope he does. I know that Jake in the Super League show really wants him to go for it and thinks he could even win here. He's got a 58% engine, so that's a pretty good engine to give it a good chance at winning with there, compared to some of these others on the grid as well. Hawkeye next up. Cooper, he'll be happier. He's got a 62% engine, still pretty good that. Basically, if they've done 1 round on it, it doesn't make a huge difference for your power, that sort of thing, unless you're on a particular power track like Monza, expect everyone to have 100% engine. Olsen on the other side of the garage has 51% engine, marginal difference, again, perfectly fine, but you'll probably find that engine will be very difficult to use 1 more time if he completes the race, because it's using high 30s now per race, so you get down to a very low figure there. Kurno, Bartavos has a 49% engine, and Zapanic has a 47% engine, so the team's pretty much matched there. Again, pretty much a little bit underpowered, but be very safe engine. Ren Archer, assuming that Eyes is back in again, he'll have a 61% engine, and Hinz is on a 62% engine, very similar. Only done 1 round on them, so they'll be perfectly fine. Adonis, Bracan, assuming in there, is 31% engine, and Lopez has a 25% engine, so he's the next closest to Rudy Van Buren, so they're both pretty much evenly matched. Very different engines though, one's a Valiant, one being the Talos. Street Fighter, Horror would have a 33% engine and Franchik a 39%, so they're both on the last race there with them. Horror again, that'd be probably completely used up by the time it gets there, but pretty safe at 33. We've seen 30% engines last the race and in fact win, so that's pretty good going. Storm, assuming they turn up, would be Schubert with a 100% engine and McNaughton with a 62% engine. They've actually helped themselves engine wise by not showing up to last round because they've got fresher engines and they didn't even turn a lap in them, so it's better than the DNF in a way. Green Stripes Racing, popping up the grid, but Vardy would have a 71% engine, so that's a pretty good engine, and De Vries would have a 37. Last one, bit low on power, but still pretty reasonable, going to be safe. So the only 2 really there to watch, I'd say, would be Van Buren and Fran Lopez, which are pretty big names to be risking it with a low engine, but you really do have to risk it at some stage this season now if you're to complete every race. If you're taking the fresh engines like, say, someone like David Feidek has, who's in the championship battle or that sort of thing, where then you're kind of risking that you're probably either going to have to DNF at some point, or risk that you're going to DNF, or that you're going to have to use these really low engines somewhere else down the line. Actually, if you're going to use a very used engine, if you have to use it somewhere, Hungary's not a bad place to use it. You don't want to be using it around Spa or Monza or Circuit Americas or Mexico, somewhere like that. We've all got coming up in the second half of the calendar. So you want fresh engines at that end, or quite powerful engines anyway. So it's going to be exciting to see actually how it pans out during the rest of the season. It's some interesting choices there, but it's not an engine track, so I'm not so worried for most people. But just watch out for those two. Tyres. Now, tyres, you remember everyone's got to pick their tyre choices. They've got 3 choices to make. They can use all 3, they have to use 2. We've seen most of the teams throughout the year now picking the ultra soft, super soft and the soft, and again it'll be no surprise to you that they have done very similar again. We did see last time out though, in some respects, a farcical amount of pit stops because it was Silverstone and it wore those tyres down like mad, but those tyres were so fast, even over 4 or 5 laps, it was worth doing. Bit mad, but it should be a bit more sane here. I'd imagine you're probably talking about a 4, 5 or 6 stopper. It's not insane, but that's if they're using the really fast tyres. You might see some people try for a 3 if they're using them a bit longer ones, but most teams, all bar 3 teams, have chosen the ultra soft, super soft and a soft tyre. So it's all but 3. 2 teams have chosen the super soft, soft and medium, so they do not have the ultra soft tyres, and that's Adonis and Walters. So they don't have the ultra soft tyres to qualify on, but they have got longer running tyres for the race potentially. That's quite interesting to see. They could be further down the grid though, which is quite difficult to come back up at times. Vodbull, the only other one that's done something different, they've done ultra soft, super softs and mediums, so they do not have the soft tyre. So that's going to be quite exciting as well. So you've got Adonis, Walters and Vodbull who will have the option of using the mediums if they want to. Everybody's got the option of the super soft, and everybody's got the option of the softs with the exception of Vodbull, and everybody's got the option of ultras with the exception of Adonis and Walters. So it's interesting actually, some of those have surprised me. We've seen Walters using the ultra softs quite heavily in the past, with Boldy doing quite a lot, but then we did see him a couple of rounds ago managing to get his tyres to actually last quite well, say at Canada. So hopefully he'll be doing that sort of thing again, because he was right up there with a few tangles, but if he hadn't done that he could have been really up there. So that's going to be exciting to see. And Adonis, if they really get the game on, and someone like Lopez and Braca now in the team, really could do something interesting with them as well. And what on earth are Vodbull going to do with mediums? That could be exciting to see as well. We haven't seen them properly use them yet. We have seen them use softs, so it could happen. Or we could just see them on ults. Well, unlikely to be on ultra soft all the time because they don't last very long, as a lot of teams have found out to their peril this year. So that's pretty much everything you need to know ahead of tomorrow. If all of that made no sense to you whatsoever, go back and watch everything we've gone through over the past like 7 or 8 or 9 episodes now, and really catch up on what's going on in Super League, because it's incredible stuff. It's really as real as it gets as a team game. If you go elsewhere and you drive and you just driving the same cars against everybody else and you're just going, I'm the best driver, that's nothing. Get into Super League, get into a team and really, really try and be a racing driver, because that's what it's all about. Working as a team, working everything together, because it's not all about just your driver's skill in racing. This is everything. This is the team. If you want to watch all the action, make sure you jump over to GPVWC's YouTube channel or on the website tomorrow from 8 PM. We've got a Super League show all about that race if you can't watch it live on a week Thursday at 8 PM as well on this channel, so make sure you subscribe to that, and that's a Super League show. Join Jake, Ben and Casper for that one. I'm back then 2 weeks later, and we're going to have a little bit of a recap maybe what's going on, because obviously we've got no racing at that point, because we have got our mid-season gap. So expect from Sim News, expect a lot of, for GPVWC, expect an awful lot of half-season reviews, stuff that's going on, potentially of all series, and what on earth is happening going forwards into Germany as well. We'll be back before the day before that race as well, telling you everything that's gone on over the summer break, where some teams could have some seriously big upgrades because they've got 4 weeks to develop really. So you could potentially see 2 lots of upgrades on 2 different areas. So it could be huge differences here by the time we get to Germany. Nobody's guessed what's going on there. Let's enjoy Hungary first, shall we? You can also make sure you see the other shows that aren't necessarily GPVWC based on Sim News. You've got Parker's Pit Stop coming up as well. He's got some great guests on there. There's a few exciting new shows coming on board as well, probably over the summer break. So make sure you tune in, hit that subscribe, hit notification button right below at the end on the credits here. I've been the Scrutineer for SimNews.TV, and I shall see you next time.